side of me. The other side of me.
Hi there, ladies and gentlemen. My guest for today is the owner of the Sheriff's Grill and the president of the Asian Learning Center. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Hazel Sanchez.
Hi, Marge.
Hi. It's nice to have you in my show.
Thank you for having me here. Thank you for the invitation.
Of course, I have noticed before this interview, ladies and gentlemen, we had a chance to really talk about life, about everything. I have noticed that you have this similarity with your mom.
I do.
Okay. Can you name some things that make you or that makes you the same, more or less?
I would say the grit and the stamina to withstand pressure. I believe those are two strong characteristics I have in me that I didn't have naturally growing up, but was really developed through my mom's nurturing and mentoring.
Okay. Let's start out with this. This is your place, the Sheriff's Grill.
Yes.
Okay. Whose concept is this?
Basically, this concept originally was not from us. We had a previous business. I will not name the company, but then there was a fallout between my husband and I with my partner. And then we decided to just step down. But then when you step down, the rest of the crew in that previous business approached my husband because they wanted to be under our management. And at that time, I told my husband that I wasn't ready. I'm not well versed with the food industry. I still have to learn it because I believe my forte would be in the education industry. And then since my husband also opened a construction company, I also have a little knowledge on the construction and designing industry. And then I told him, if you're gonna open a food business, you're asking too much from me already because every business person knows this, that when you open a new business, you don't just open it just because you want to, but you also have to study as you open it and as you manage it every day. And so I said to my husband, no, I'm not ready for that. But then all the 7 crew that we had were really asking us to reconsider. And I felt bad that I'd be the bad girl. If I keep on saying no. So my husband said, it's all up to your mom Hazel now if she will say yes to your request. And then at that time, I believe we absorbed them, all 7 crew at that time, paid them the salary and benefits for 7 months without having an actual store because we were still trying to regroup, reconceptualize, and basically Sheriff's Grill was born out of our desire to help others who are in the food industry. Because there are a lot of excellent cooks, in kitchen crew, who are not given a chance elsewhere. So here Sheriff's Grill is small, but we are a family here.
It's cozy.
Very cozy. Yes, and mind you, food is good.
Yes,
and it's
good.
very affordable.
Okay, it's very affordable. Now, let's go to you being in the academy.
Yes.
What fulfillment does it give you when you know that you are able to make students really learn?
There's nothing quite like seeing a life transform in front of you. When each student comes to our school and they enroll themselves to our school, all I see is potential, raw potential. And there's excitement in us when we see the students. And I would always remind our teachers and all our department heads that no matter how and what you see in that student, because there's this concept, that first impressions. Sometimes you see a student and you think, you know that student is not as intelligent as this one, or this student has a special condition and the like. I always tell the teachers that do not box any student. Speak life to them. Call them as you want them to be. You know, the old school, diba? It's so different because, you know, back then they would call you bugo. You're dumb, you're dull, you cannot do this, you cannot do that, and it's matched with, you know, in the head.
Yes.
All this stuff. But then I told the teachers that we should stop that kind of culture. You know, I mean, as educators, we're so tempted sometimes when we get frustrated with a particular learner. If they're not growing at the pace that we want them to grow, it gets so frustrating. And, you know, sometimes we lash out at the student, you know, because we're so frustrated that we're not catching up. But then I tell them, never give up, just speak life. Because, you know, out of the abundance of your heart, the mouth speaks. And when you speak life, that child hears it every day or every week. Even if she or he knows that he or she is not that kind of student, he or she will strive to work double time to make sure that she will be able to meet up with what is required of him or her to develop at a certain, you know, grade level or, you know, learning level of that student. So for me, that's the most fulfilling part, because I have handled, most people ask me, Hazel, how come you're a teacher? You don't do actual classroom teaching. You know, the only time I did handle actual classroom teaching was when I had my demo class, you know, practice teaching at St. Teresa's College. And that was the only time I've ever handled an actual class. But then I tell them I'm a teacher because I teach the mentors. You know, God entrusted to me all these teachers under our care in our school. And it is a privilege that I get to speak to them, guide them, you know, the best way that I can. But it's not something that I originally wanted. This was not the path that I wanted for myself. I had several options, and all of which my parents turned down because they wanted me to help in our family ministry. I don't really call it a business. The school is not a business, it's a ministry. So our family ministry, which is the school in the academy, and if I had my way, I wouldn't have helped.
You told me you were an introvert.
Yes.
So why the bubbly personality?
Well, I would say over the years, as my mom, I believe my mom is really the one who can take the credit for this, because she saw a very shy child, but then she insisted to turn me around.
How did she turn around?
She would make me do things that I wasn't comfortable doing. Like, for example, I don't want to be in a crowd. And she would tell my advisor back then to let me join singing contest, declamation contest, oration, you name it, and even to a point of letting me join a dance troupe, knowing that her daughter has 2 left feet.
How did you do that?
I had to cope. I endured it over the years.
I just surmounted it.
Yes, of course, but you know, it came with a cost, because insecurity sometimes sets in when all your friends performs better than you.
Yes.
But then when things started to work for my favor, I improved in a lot of areas, maybe not so much in dancing still, you know, but like self-confidence was built slowly over the years, and shyness was, I'm still shy, would you believe it? I'm still camera shy, I'm still, you know, yes, even when I stand in front of a crowd, a big crowd, and I speak.
You still have that pride.
Yes, I still have stage fright. And you know, they say it's a good thing to have stage fright because
Why?
it keeps you on your toes. When you stand in front of a crowd, when you speak, you have this butterfly in your stomach. You know, keep it there. You know, just to a minimum, because it makes you be conscious of, you know, how you deliver when you're in front of a crowd.
What's the best lesson you learned from that?
From Daddy? Less is more.
What do you mean by less is more?
Means my dad doesn't speak much. but he is really a man of substance. And my mom can scream my head off, but when my dad just stares at me without saying a word, and I know what he wants to be done, so I keep my mouth shut. And I
Until now.
yes, my dad just looks at, and I'm 42, and my dad can just shut me up anytime, even when I know, that I can argue my way into things. But then when my dad tells
He
me,
has that effect.
he has them, and not just to me. I've seen it, over my siblings and his sons-in-law. My dad doesn't say much, so I think the best thing I got from my dad and learned from him is less is more.
Okay. How about mom? Best lesson you learned from mom?
Oh, there are a lot. Because I consider my mom my greatest mentor, actually.
Can you name top three?
Top three would be, don't give up on your goal. Like keep your eyes on the prize. And then when things get difficult, push harder. And then she would always tell me that you will never win if you say no all the time.
So you have to say yes.
Yes.
So
I say yes all the time with my parents.
but
Yeah.
not to other people.
Not much to other people, yes.
So now let's go to the love life. Ooh.
My husband doesn't know I'm doing this interview.
Oh, okay. How many years you've been married?
17 last December.
So, okay. What's the best thing about him? What's the best?
The best thing about my husband. The best thing about Lyndon is that he prayed for me. He asked God to give him a strong, godly, and a wife who can just understand him. So most man wouldn't want a strong woman. But then he asked for one. He said, "May I pray for Maldita?"
Are you Maldita?
I am. Certified Maldita.
Okay.
Yeah. But timbre, syempre. Yeah.
Okay. I know that you don't have a child yet, and you have a very good explanation of it when you share to me about that. Can you
Yes.
share it to them? What's that you read about?
Well, after 17 years, my husband and I don't have any children, biological children of our own. And the story
But you are happy.
very happy, very contented. Because, when my husband and I tried, we weren't successful in it. So we sought the Lord. And for the longest time, God did not answer me. And so I told God, Lord, you know the desire of my heart. Women are boxed. You graduate, have a career, get married, and then have children, and then raise a very successful family. That's what we were brought up back then. And so I said, Lord, the only thing lacking is for me to have children, for my husband and myself to have children of our own. But then years after, there was still none. So what happened was, we sought God. And He did give me an answer after a while. And it was a very clear no. It was not a maybe. It was not a yes later. But the answer God gave me personally was a no. That's why up to this time, people ask me, hey, do you still feel pressured when people ask you when you're gonna have kids? I said, no, I don't feel pressured anymore, because my answer to those who ask me is that I will tell them that God said no. And you cannot argue with the Lord.
Yes, of course.
Especially when He gave me the book of Isaiah, and He addressed me in such a way that really shut me up already for good. I said, Lord, I will not argue anymore. So you say that we're not gonna have children, we're not gonna have. So my husband and I sat down after that, encounter with God, all this, and then I told him, I married you for one reason, and that one reason is that I fell in love with you, and I love you with all my heart. If I married you for the reason that I wanted kids, I would have done having kids in different ways. Now, there are different ways to have children, biological children of your own. But I said, children for me comes as a bonus. The Bible said that children is inheritance that God gives to you as a person. So I told my husband, if you're okay not having kids, I am definitely most okay not having kids. And speaking about Oprah, I encountered one of the articles in social media that Oprah said, you don't need to have biological children to call your own. She said, I take care of people every day, different people, young, whatever their race is, and I consider them my own because I take care of them. So I felt strongly about that statement, and I said, that is how I feel. For 17 years, not having children of my own. I have spiritual children, the ones that I mentor in church ministry, and I have academic children in the field of education, and I have children who are even older than me. When they come to me for advices, come to me for, just to be their sounding board. I still consider them because we take care of their emotional needs and all that. So I would strongly suggest that do not be pressured by society about what you need to achieve, like have kids at a certain age. So I'm 42. So I told my husband, at 30, if we still don't have kids, then let's just drop the issue altogether. Because if we keep on letting it afloat, hovering over our head, we'll be miserable all our lives. And I said, I married you for one reason, and that's because you make me happy. But if I make you miserable and you make me miserable, why be together just because of one issue? So that's it.
Very good explanation. My learning is that you have to be content with what God gives.
Yes, most definitely.
What was the lesson that you learned in the past that made you who you are now?
That life isn't easy. That you gotta work hard for what you want. But most of all, the greatest realization, I would not say lesson, but the greatest realization I have, in my 42 years here on earth, is that we have one God who's alive. Most people go through the motion of religion. And I got caught into that for some time. And then I encountered God in the most unique way, knowing and seeing and tasting Him every day as a living being. He's active in me. I may not be a perfect person. I said earlier, I'm a little, right? Yeah. But every day I learned that I have to submit everything of me, of my flesh, at the foot of the cross. And let just God have His control over me. Oftentimes I get frustrated because it's not that easy, but I remember that it's by God's grace that I'm here, and it's by the power of the Holy Spirit that He moves me to do things as He wills. So that's one of the things probably I've been teaching people, younger people who I've mentored. I tell them, if there's one thing that you need to get to know God while you're still alive here on earth. And don't just know Him, have a relationship with Jesus.
Very well said, ladies and gentlemen. What would you like to tell to your two siblings?
Oh, always follow our parents' advice. There's wisdom in our parents' advices, and then that family matters a lot.
Okay, how about that? Do you want to say that?
Oh, thank you for everything that you have done for me and for the whole family. My dad has to deal with not just 3 daughters, but 4 women in his life, including my mom. It's no easy feat dealing with the 4 of us.
4 versus 1.
Yes, he's outnumbered all the time. And it's just God's grace and miracle that, He's held us together all these years. And he's still sane, right? He's pretty sane still.
How about mom?
For mommy, I would like to say thank you for pushing me and pushing me. Even up to this age, when my mom talks to me, it's like she's talking to a child who does not know anything. If you listen to my mom and you don't know I'm the one she's talking with, you would assume that she's talking to somebody who's immature, who does not know what she's doing. And the like. And most of the time when she addresses that to me, I always feel like going back to that kid back then. But then I realized that mom just keeps on repeating some of the things she's taught me over the years because she wants me to be a better person even at this age. So for my mom, thank you for always pushing me and never giving up.
Wow. How about Sir Linda?
My husband, thank you for putting up with me all these years, supporting my dreams and loving me for who I am.
Wow.
Yes.
I want you to complete this sentence. Mrs. Hazel Sanchez is
Who you see is what you get. I'm a very transparent person.
wow. So I'll see you all again for another episode of The Other Side of Me. Bye everybody!
The other side of me.